President Trump is in Scotland for a 5-day visit. It puts a little bit of physical space, at least, between him and the growing Epstein fallout in the nation's capital. The president golfing today at his property in Turnberry, Scotland, one of two golf courses the president owns and plans to play during his visit. Trump also plans to meet with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and the head of the European Union Commission for Trade and Tariffs talks. The trip to Scotland, though, is not without controversy. The president has already been met with some large protests, and more are planned for his visit. CNN's Jeff Zeleny is in Scotland for us. Not unheard of course, for an American president or any world leader, frankly, to be met with some protests. But walk us through not only what he's seen and heard there, but also what is on deck for him over the next few days, Jeff.
Well, Erica, certainly President Trump has grown very accustomed to protests. This time, of course, they are very far away from him. He is spending the bulk of his time on his properties, 3 nights at the Turnberry Resort on the western coast of Scotland, and then 1 night. And he's also opening a new golf course on the northern coast of Scotland, which is the ancestral homeland of his mother. That is what really brings the connection to Scotland that Donald Trump has talked so often about. He talks about Scotland in a very fond way, but it is less clear if residents of Scotland feel as fondly toward him. There were many supporters who turned out last evening near Glasgow to watch Air Force One arrive, always quite a sight and spectacle, but there were also many protesters who turned out to protest his mere presence here and his policies as well. We talked to Fiona McPherson to give her view about President Trump.
I think we're probably going to have to play nice, but I don't want us to. But you know, America was our ally for so long. We relied on America so much. Now it's an embarrassment. I don't know. It's very, very tricky. I think politically, yes, we've got to play nice. But on the other hand, if we condone his behaviour, what message are we sending out to the world?
And you may have seen the Boston Red Sox hat on Fiona. She's actually a dual citizen of the United States and Scotland and follows U.S. politics very closely, she said. But as for the rest of the agenda, the president is largely doing this working vacation, playing some golf, even in the windy and often or somewhat rainy Scotland as it is at the moment. But he's also holding trade talks, scheduled to do so with the head of the EU on Sunday, as well as the British Prime Minister on Monday. He'll return to Washington on Tuesday evening after doing a ribbon-cutting dedication ceremony at a golf course named after his mother. Erica?
Jeff, appreciate it as always. Thank you.
Trump's approval has dropped to the lowest of his second term and perhaps most notably an all-time low of either term among independents. They're a big reason why he won the presidency again. And also notable, he's starting to take hits from the very people who got him elected. That includes MAGA stars who are critical and skeptical of the Epstein excuses. Elon Musk, who continues to attack the administration's handling of this, and Rupert Murdoch, whose paper, The Wall Street Journal, has broken several key stories, shining light on this relationship between Trump and Epstein. Now, listen to Charlemagne the God's theory on all of this.
Trump got beef with Rupert Murdoch, Elon Musk, all these people who really helped put him in power, they don't seem to be rocking with him anymore. And I don't know if Trump realizes it, and I could be completely wrong. But if Trump is definitively named in the Epstein files in a damning way, credible allegations, not just association, I believe this is the perfect excuse for Republican elites to stage a political coup and push him out.
Provocative, to be sure. Jamal, what do you think?
Well, that was certainly a lot to take in. But listen, this is the downside of the strategy that he has imported that got him elected. His entire strategy with the Epstein files was to try to give people the strong impression that this was Bill Clinton, this was Democrats, this was something that they were trying to hide. And now that this is all turned on him, he won't be able to convince his base that this is a transparent investigation at all. Like, I don't know what it would take for them to believe that there's no cover up. I mean, you've convinced a lot of these people. Part of your whole spiel is that the government isn't to be trusted. And then you're asking these same group of people to suddenly trust that this was all on the up and up. There is no list, that everything is as it appears, and they're just not gonna buy it. And what's always interesting to me is like what it takes people to get off the Trump train. It's not the xenophobia, it's not the racism, it's not the bigotry, it is this.
But are they off the Trump train? I mean, I think this is the part of what Charlotte
Well, it
is
depends on
saying
who
that
you're
I'm not so
who you're
sure.
talking to.
Because I think that they really don't want to be off the Trump train. They want to be on the Trump train. They just want Trump to get in line with them on this issue.
I think that's exactly right, Abby. Look, I think for Trump, it does feel a little bit like the lady doth protest a little too much, right? But when it comes to his approval rating with Republicans, it's basically as solid as it ever was. You know, you put it up on the graphic before, where you saw the smallest decline was among Republicans. If you look at the average of polls, his approval rating with Republicans, still at about 90%. Of course, those same Republicans say they are dissatisfied with the amount of information that's been released so far. Everyone is dissatisfied with the amount of information that's been released so far with concern to the Epstein files. Everyone thinks that there's something more going on there. But then making that leap to all of a sudden that his base is moving away from him, at least at this particular point in the polling data, we're not seeing it.
I mean, so I don't want to suggest that these numbers here that I'm going to talk about are all the result of the Epstein files. They're clearly not. There's a lot else going on. But he's dropping like a rock among independents in a way that I think any other politician would be like, oh, maybe something should it raise a red flag here in terms of what he's doing. And then the small shift among Republicans, 2%, according to this Gallup poll, not earth-shattering, but how much lower can he afford to go if he is cratering with independents?
Well, President Trump's very knowledgeable when it comes to polls. There's no doubt about it. He looks at them every day and knows what's going on. I'll be very sincere with you, Abby. I am from the standpoint of this case, this Epstein was in the past, and let's move forward. There's been justice. But MAGA's not going there. And I say that with all heart because I was just telling Harry that I was at a Home Depot store and I've had people come up to me and say, you know what, we want justice. And we didn't give Fauci a pass. We didn't give Obama a pass. We didn't give Hillary a pass. We're not going to give Epstein a pass. And I've been hearing that. So obviously when I hear Harry's polling go into the 80s, it has moved a little bit, but which hasn't caused concern for there's change. At the end of the day, look, Epstein is a creep, and Maxwell is worse, I believe. She's the one that brought little girls to him. So that is just horrible all the way around. So this notion of even pardon, who the heck is talking about pardon here, Abby? This is horrible. So in my opinion, Congress is gone. They're going to hear from their constituents.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's going to be the telltale right there.
What are you hearing at the Home Depot?
Well, I haven't been to Home Depot recently.
He's a
I will
Costco
tell you,
man.
Abby, a moment ago, as you said, among independents, his numbers have been cratering. I think around the summer of last year, just around the time of the assassination attempt, the RNC convention, the energy surrounding Trump was a bit different. I think a lot of people were saying he seems to have mellowed out a bit. They were expecting him to be even more kind of sensational after the assassination attempt. And instead, he was kind of measured. People thought that they knew what they were getting with Trump. We'd seen 4 years of him before. They did not expect the kind of shock and awe effort on the part of the administration throughout the first couple of months of this year. They had a big agenda. They wanted to try to get really creative about the ways that they implemented things. With immigration, they scored a number of victories very early on, getting the illegal crossings down. But in terms of the way that they've gone about the enforcement, it's all dramatic performances. And I think it's alienated a great deal, a number of people, maybe not the base, but certainly the independents.
I mean, Democrats, they are certainly jumping on the political bandwagon on this, but the anger, I don't know that the anger is on the Democratic side, even in light of that. The anger is very clearly on the conservative side.
It is absolutely on the conservative side. Look, this, in my mind, for Democrats, it seems to be largely a political play, right? But
low-hanging fruit.
Low-hanging fruit.
It's just an easy thing.
An easy thing. But they finally have an issue that seems to unite their party, which has been very much divided to historic levels since the election, and one that actually divides Republicans who have been historically united since the election. So, of course, as a political play, Democrats are going to make it. But whether or not their heart is truly in it, well, let's just say I'm a little suspicious.
Well, some of that, I have to say, it could very well be, again, the weird thing about the Epstein files is that I really think there are some very legitimate reasons not to release them. Mm-hmm. Very legitimate. It's just that I think it's very suspicious to a lot of people. why all the people who wanted them released suddenly changed their tune once they've had a chance to look in them.
Well, and
that's the part that I think has raised the spidey sense of a lot of people who didn't previously care that much about this issue.
And I think it's Trump's own responses, is that he hasn't really done much to put out the fire and put out the suspicion around him, because as soon as it's brought up, he starts sort of railing against it. And I know he gets emotional about a lot of things. And then he goes to his very familiar buzzwords, Obama, Hillary. And it's like, your material's getting old. Like, at this point, like, people don't want to hear that. They want to know, why is it that you appear to be hiding something if you're as innocent as you say it is? If it's just an association, he was just a friend, you didn't know about anything else, but you're not answering any real questions about it. And I'm sorry, especially in the society that we live in, where people really do feed off conspiracy theories, that is not going to be good enough.
So I have to show this handy little chart. We're going to break, but the mentions of Obama hit kind of a high as the mentions of Epstein also hit kind of a high, just to show you that the knee-jerk reaction to any negative news about Trump is to talk about Obama. Just the life that we're living here in the United States of America.